Sunday. Sweat Equity Podcast, the streaming show, the number one comedy business podcast in the world.
Bro, we just had a good show, and you want to do that?
Yeah, because we have Orlando Haynes on, talking recruiting, retention, interviews, the great resignation, recruiters, corporate recruiters versus agency recruiters in this wild hiring world. Pragmatic entrepreneurial advice and real raw dog talk. We're 2020's best small, medium enterprise business advisory podcast in the United States. Thanks to Lux Global Excellence Awards, proudly hosted by Lux Life Magazine. Lizzo.
What?
I'm humble bragging, Lizzo.
The only Lizzo clip we got. I don't really have a conversation with you as Lizzo.
I mean, it's you sucking her pussy from the back. We're 2021's best podcast and streaming entertainment studio, Eastern United States Media Innovator Awards 2021, hosted by Corporate Vision Magazine. Listen to us on Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify. Go on there, subscribe, hit that little, smash the subscribe button, smash it.
Push it extra hard.
Give it the shocker, whatever you got to do. Put a 5-star and write a review on there. This episode is sponsored by Warby Parker. WarbyParkerTrial.com/sweat. Like Keith Sweat, like Montez Sweat. Get you 5 free pairs to try on at home. Warby Parker, the disruptor in the eyeglass, sunglass community. Don't get ripped off by Luxottica. They got the monopoly on the system.
Okay, I won't.
Dirty Italians. WarbyParkerTrial.com
You really cracked himself up on that one, didn't you?
Get you 5 free pairs. Get that prescription. Get your sunglasses. Get the hookup. Let's get it going. Hot and toddy.
What about my sweat equity? Sweat equity. Sweat equity. My sweat equity. My sweat equity. What about my sweat equity?
We good? Want me to hit this?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? You're producer.
No, we're good. We're going.
Well, look, that's how we do it. Sometimes Zoom doesn't work out. Sometimes tech doesn't work out the way we want it to. So if anybody's watching this on video, you might have a frozen Orlando Haynes,
Right.
host of the podcast Career Talks. Where can people find that?
Yeah, that's on LinkedIn Live as well. So LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcast. You can.
I know what you're going to ask him.
How did you get on LinkedIn Live? What did you have to do, Orlando? What awful thing did you have to do to get on LinkedIn Live?
We need to clip this out and then advertise towards people that worked at LinkedIn.
Right.
Because, look, I heard that story about at Facebook in Austin when they had the ads move all the way to Austin from San Fran and just start their own building there. The guys who got jobs did that. They targeted all the people that worked in that building early on. I'm talking like 12 years ago, and that got them gigs. I think for us to get accepted on LinkedIn Live, we're going to have to do
We're going to listen to what Orlando has to say about how he got on LinkedIn Live, and then maybe it's not that hard.
No, it wasn't. It was just a basic application.
We should Google
it was funny.
Huh?
Here's the part you guys are going to hate.
I've submitted.
So
I've applied.
Oh.
I've gotten rejected.
Yeah. Well, you've got some strikes against
here's
you.
the kicker. But here's the kicker. One of the questions said, have you ever, live stream or done anything like this prior? And all my answers were no. And I guess it's because I was a recruiter or am a recruiter that the topics I would discuss would be relative to LinkedIn, which is, the job market, etc. So, I didn't even know. Yeah. I got access and didn't even know for like 3 months.
Oh, my God.
So we were trying to figure out how to crack the code
nonchalant about it
years ago because we're like, all right, well, if we can just
if there's one place,
if there's a weird algorithm thing we can play, if someone actually watches it, we're not.
No.
We might be the anti-business, anti-LinkedIn newsfeed, like businessy content for them.
Yes.
Like just
could
because
also blow up on it.
Well, the whole idea of this show now has kind of evolved into a thing where you can have real talk. Where on LinkedIn newsfeed, it's almost like a PR company curates everything people post on there.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
I've got to figure that's why Orlando has the podcast himself. Because I have a big thing with hiring and retention, and I just on a macro scale, I don't think we're that good at it. In general, what do you think?
For your own company, for Sweat Equity Podcast?
No, just in general, just the United States, like how we hire people. I just bigger, broader kind of broad strokes. I think the reason you work in an office and don't like a lot of your coworkers is because we don't really think about the psychology of it.
Yeah. I don't know. That was just a really confusing road down we took. I didn't know what you're talking about.
Well, I am drinking champagne.
You are, yes. It is a very lovely glass of champagne you have there.
But yeah. To directly answer that question is no different than a job seeker. An employer has to be attractive to the market.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a two-way street. No employer can rest on their laurels, not even, the Amazons, the IBMs, the Googles of the world, the Teslas of the world, SpaceX. None of those companies, Uber, can just rest on their brand name just because the new tech unicorn out there and like, oh my God, they're crazy. You still have to build an internal culture, et cetera, to attract people because they're struggling as well. I know recruiters who work for those larger companies, and they can tell you, and they've told me, the internal culture of some of those companies are not what you think they are from the outside looking in.
Name names.
Yeah. So how much of that do you get involved with when you say because I mean, it could take weeks or months to really fully understand a culture of a company, and I'm, being a recruiter, you can't exactly commit that sort of time all the time. How deep are you digging?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So I'll answer that.
I think he got lost in his own question.
I knew exactly what I was asking.
I'm going to dig out of this. Dig.
You're just saying that because I called you out on your rambling bullshit. That's why I knew exactly what I was asking.
I knew exactly where he was going.
We may have had wacky tobacco before this. I don't know. All the kids are doing it.
So there's two. So the best way to answer that is knowing the difference between the two types of recruiters. There's an agency recruiter who works with multiple companies and tries to staff their people, which I used to be, and now I'm a corporate recruiter. So I only hire for the company I work for. So in my current role, I can know the culture because I'm in the culture and live the culture. So it's a lot easier. But from the first statement of being a staffing recruiter, it's a little harder for them unless you're specialized. Like the guest I just had on my show, even though she was she's currently on the staffing agency side and we've worked together previously, she operates more in a boutique fashion, relationships, really understand the culture and not just, hey, I'm gonna throw you a resume and hope it sticks type model. So yeah, that slight difference makes it a little bit easier to your question.
Well, yeah, I mean, you kind of brought up I don't know when you're talking about the opinions of these blue chipper companies and they're having a tough time kind of bringing we have a war on human capital, as they say in your world.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Everything's a war.
Yeah. War on drugs really worked out well, Nancy Reagan. But it's one of those things where, it's like us in Afghanistan. Just went and we don't know what we're doing. Sure. But this thing where is it the last 18 months where everybody's been feeling this way in the great resignation as it's kind of been coined lately, or has that been going on pre-lockdown COVID era?
Yeah. So pre-lockdown COVID era, it has been, but not at this level. So yes, the COVID 10x'd it for sure. Yeah. Tremendously across all sectors. Healthcare, call center, marketing, IT, it doesn't even matter. Recruiting itself, the demand for people in the Great Recession, major impact. And you'd be surprised as to what's causing the Great resignation. A lot of people may think it's pay, but it's a variety of things of culture, flexibility, mental health, that people are just like, I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like, this is the sign. This is it. This is the big, cosmic thing that's happening, and now I'm going to change my life. You change careers.
Really?
That's absolutely a part of it.
Well, I think all right.
I mean, think about it. You're sitting at home. When you're sitting at home now, it's like, is this really what I want to do?
Well,
I'm about to jump on my, automated phone system and answer phone calls from my house. Is that what I want to do with my life?
I think. All right, bigger picture. I think people need to work, especially guys, and that's not something that's. I'm not going to be very woke by saying that, but I'm saying, I think men need to work or they get really depressed.
Sure.
Number one. Number two, I think a lot of the benefits in a lot of states when you're unemployed became so much better than being the entry level anything. Like when I was working for an agency that was out of Michigan, they had me write jokes. Remember I was telling you that? They had me write like meme jokes to like get back to work, right?
Yes, I remember.
And it was one of those things where you're like, I don't know how I can beat Michigan's unemployed benefits.
Right.
They're so good.
You know what?
I'm writing these and I'm like, I kind of like the other side.
Yeah.
I would rather watch Netflix.
I only got one of the ones you wanted, but the other side of it, I got like 11 jokes for that one.
I think a lot of people like, it's so good to be at home now. Like,
sure, I'm not saying that it's the only reason. I'm just saying it's
a part
of it.
Point 3, 3 points, bringing it to you like a debate club. I'm sober for sure. Point 3, I think now everybody learned that they have leverage. Like they have options. Yep. They have leverage to. It's the first time ever. It's like I was just saying before we got on the mic. Like it's like the NBA players now are more powerful than the NBA is a thing. And now they kind of dictate what they're going to do and what the NBA is going to do.
Sure.
It's almost like that. They've never had that leverage from the player side where now it's kind of the same way, just generally, let's just say white collar.
Always that way.
Right.
It's just more obvious now.
Yeah, that's a good point because it's now before it used to be in the NBA where it was a GM and the owners making the trades. Now it's the players who are saying no, and the key players are saying like a LeBron saying nope. If you don't get me XYZ, I'm out of here. So yeah, it's definitely what you can compare the job market to is the housing market now. Ooh. Right? The housing market is ridiculous. Houses are getting 15, 20 offers above asking price, and you're forced to either pay it or continue to live where you live. So candidates kind of are driving up price. Some are getting, 30, 40K above what they're currently making. And depending on the sector, and companies are going to have to pay it or go without filling that role in some cases. So it's definitely a candidate's market. Huge shift.
It's never been like this ever, right?
No.
I mean, you really go back 100 years. We had like child labor. We had no unions and shit. Like, it's really.
Oh, we're humans too.
Right. Oh.
But I don't know if there's a recruiter historian out there, but even it's never been this crazy. Been this crazy.
I probably get 12 recruiter in-mails on LinkedIn a month, probably. And it's wild. It's like, a lot of it's not even like targeted correctly. It was like, we need video production. Like,
right.
No. Yeah. But I guess they're just doing a spread, and that would be what you would call the agency recruiter style. Just take a shotgun spread approach and just, or as I call it, just kind of a casting net for bait, like just throwing a wide net and hoping you're grabbing someone out of it.
Exactly. And we're all fishing in the same pond. So that's always been the case. Even if that company has a in-house recruiting team, you're fishing in the same pond for the same exact types of people. It's just a matter of who gets there first. So you'll have many companies who are now, willing and engaging to work with agencies even more so now, hoping and thinking because I'm outsourcing this role and willing to pay a fee, they're going to find me someone. Well, not if your internal recruiting team is doing the same, the same efforts. Again, it's the same pond we're looking at it. The tactics may be different, but the people they're still swimming in the same lagoon. There's no difference. It's just a matter of speed at this point, and then it comes down to pay, culture, flexibility, and schedule, who they're going to report to, the projects, etc.
Yeah, 4 million people quit in. Wait, was it 10 million or 4 million when I brought it up? It was the most ever in 1 month of people just voluntarily.
Was it 4 million or 10 million?
Oh fuck! Now I gotta look it up.
Well, you brought it up.
Yeah, but I thought you were listening to me. You
Somebody
never listened to
doubt
me.
themselves so quickly.
It's 4.
Jeez.
I don't have a good short.
Make it 4 million and one because I quit.
Here's what it was. Here's where I got confused. 4 million Americans quit their jobs in July of 2021, with a record-breaking 10.9 million open jobs at the end of July. So I was right on point.
Yeah. So that total number, I think it was the New York Post that said there were about 8.5 million job seekers unemployed, with that 10 million jobs available. So it boggles me because I'm like, where they're going to go?
Yeah,
because they can't take a paper that says Great Resignation to their mortgage company, to their gas company, right, to their electric company, to the to the supermarket to feed their families. Like,
dreams,
where are you going to work?
I agree. Yeah. I agree. It seems impulsive. Like it seems like you can hear a lot of things like I know people are hiring everywhere. I can do this. I can find the next thing I want to do. But I feel like a lot of adults I know they lack a lot of like goals or vision. Shit they want to do. Like what's that stat? Like 60% of Americans don't have $500 saved up, kind of thing.
I don't know that.
We're not that kind of culture. So I just find this interesting. I think that I think like music genres, like you had. I was watching Woodstock '99 documentary on HBO. Okay. Like you had pop music that came up, and then right after that, you had like Limp Bizkit, Korn, all this stuff that just was the opposite of that. And then you go back to something that's a little bit pop.
Yeah.
You feel me?
What does that mean for the Great Resignation?
I feel like it's going to snap back, and a lot of people are going to have gigs. Like Orlando's concerned. Like, okay, what's the next thing you're going to do? What do you got?
Like, oh, look who came crawling back.
Right.
Right.
Offers off the table. You'll take half.
I didn't realize how hard this is to do without being able to see you, because we can't tell if you're about to say something.
We don't even know if you're still connected, honestly.
We kind of look crazy right now if someone walks in, just sees a frozen screen.
They think they're talking to somebody.
You're talking to Orlando.
Well, it's funny if you look at it when you talk about where's people going, and you look at social media, and it's been sensationalized about being an entrepreneur, earning your six figures in your first year, etc. And we know everybody's not built to be an entrepreneur. Everybody is not going to succeed starting their own business, but there's been a heightened increase of trademarks and LLCs that been applied for in the market since prior to COVID, but it's heightened even now because people are assuming, hey, I'm going to be a YouTuber. I'm going to go crush it on TikTok. I'm going to create my podcast and get 1 million downloads a day. And so I'm wondering, where are these folks going? You see people post on LinkedIn, I just quit my job after 3 months because of mental health stress. And I know it might not look good, but I'm like, where's the plan? And you said it earlier, Laura, like,
why would you do
that? Need
that?
to work.
You know what's stressful? Not having a job or money.
Work.
It's
that kind of stressful.
It's that virtue signaling too. It's like, I'm not old school in the sense that you can't talk about it, but it's like on the thing you're probably trying to get a job on.
Right.
Right.
Don't do it there.
Right. This is probably going
your
viral.
Therapist about it.
Right.
Jeez, don't put it on LinkedIn.
That's on a marketing sense.
Guys,
I'm like, don't put your best foot forward.
Right.
Like,
my mental health comes first.
Now, I have a theory when you're doing the interview stuff, it's kind of like dating a little bit, like getting set up on a date, right? Is that how you kind of look at it? Like, you're trying to feel each other out. Did our friends set us up in the right way? Can they match us?
I am curious how those connections are made for you.
Really? You haven't been on many.
In particular,
you haven't been on a first date in a while.
I'm not on Tinder, and we're talking recruiting. Don't go too deep in your metaphor.
Well, you haven't been on Tinder or Grinder
I
like I
want
have.
pragmatic advice.
No,
here.
I'm just saying job interviews they feel like dates. They feel like second dates. When you have that second interview, it's like, okay, I'm trying to put my best foot forward. I'm trying to suppress any red flags and spin them. If they come up, I'm going to spin it into a story of how I made this thing right. I'm trying to figure out their flaws a little bit.
Sure.
Trying to size them up. I mean, it's all, if we really want to break it down, it's really like self-preservation mode on both sides of the table.
Yeah.
Either on a date or a job interview, mitigating risk, whatever you want to call it.
So could be said about all human interaction, but
I go get my tire changed. It's not like a date.
Yeah, and
the
this
guy
guy's
actually
"You
doesn't
think
like
you're
me
better than
talking to him.
Bring me. I'm going to change your tires. You can't change your own tires. Yeah, he's thinking.
Yeah, and he gives me one of these old school like,
right when you turn around.
Yeah.
So to answer that question, I'll chime in a bit. Most folks from interviewing is the worst thing you can do from a hiring manager standpoint, right? Because that's when it's I'm gonna let you see what you need to see to say yes and give me the job. But most skilled hiring managers and recruiters have conversations with these folks. So with that, you start to take off the layers. These people become more relaxed, and you really start to see, who this person is, he or she. But at the same time, we can pull some red flags based on how comfortable that person gets in that interview and set some things you're like, oh, okay, pick that up. They didn't think I did, but I did. So yeah, if you're interviewing, you're probably going to struggle. Have conversations with candidates. You're more likely to, create that immediate like, wow, I want to work for this person. And they're like, oh, I can see this person in the next role.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's better to have conversations.
Yeah, that's how I could never. I would feel so cheesy asking some of those questions.
What about?
Please tell me your best quality. Go.
Here's another one: is super eager, too eager is a weird turnoff on
right
on either
what are
side.
You running from?
Yeah, it's like I can do anything.
On either side, you're right too. It's like, please, we need somebody.
Yeah. It's a weird, delicate dance, and
so
you're right. What he was saying was like, hey, you're the person you're interviewing with. If anybody's listening to this and needs real advice, like you're probably gonna be working near that person a lot.
Yeah,
you're at least gonna have a direct manager hire.
Lots of times it's gonna be your boss. Most of the time that's who you're talking to.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Think ahead there.
So it's about on the interviewer side or the interviewee side, it's about being like, don't just try to get the job, like really see if it's a fit.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you get destitute. You'll do whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I get these like emails. Hey, here's the best answers to the most top 10 questions in an interview. I'm like, I don't want to read that. Like, what?
Is that ladders.com?
Well,
they throw out a lot of content.
I think it's actually LinkedIn.
Oh,
but you know what I'm saying? Like,
they're both trashy. Yeah.
Here's a way to blend in with everybody else and not stand out.
Here's a listicle.
Right.
Remember listicles from BuzzFeed 10 years ago?
Sure. Give me them infographics.
What Orlando? What got you into this world? Like, I feel like there's in a marketing agency sense where I've been bouncing around a lot the last 10 years, and like there's a poker player named Phil Hellmuth that said like I'd win every hand if it wasn't for luck or something like that. I feel like a lot of marketing agencies. I'm friends with 100 agency owners. They're all like, if it wasn't for the client, this would be so much better. And it's just like, did you not navigate those waters to figure out how to kind of condition clients or any of that? I feel like it's interacting with humans on a very, what is it? Dunbar's number. You have 150 people you can have relationships with. But I feel like I get maxed out trying to help people in your world. What got you into this?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I was a candidate first, and this is 20 years ago back in New York. So with that, just came through the process, didn't get the job that I, interviewed for. And then that same recruiting company called me back for an opportunity internally. And I kind of reference it to the mafia where I forgot what Godfather movie it was, and he's like, every time I try to step out, they pull me back in. So I know nothing else but recruiting and staffing and what I do. But yeah, long story short, I was a candidate first, then got pulled in, and I haven't looked back since.
What's the meta games when you get hired somewhere? Because they're hiring someone who's a badass, like a hired gun in the
Do you guys even
HR.
talk to each other in that interview, or you just kind of stare at each other for an hour?
Yeah, is it like a Mexican standoff where you're just staring at each other?
No, it's the same process, but because I have an advantage because I've been doing it for so long. So
That's what you think.
In some cases, I know the psychological play around it too. So I make sure I drive that conversation, that interview to a conversation. It's just, we all have our things that we look for. Like, it's not just pay, it's culture. For me in particular, personally, I got to know the freedom in my role. Like, how much freedom do I have to try, new things to get these positions filled? If it's do the same old, I really could care less about what they offer. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a company who's willing to let me be creative as possible, fail as much as possible to bring new innovation things to recruiting.
Is that because you rank satisfaction of your performance highest, or flexibility to be creative higher?
My main thing is impact, and if you go into an organization or partner with an organization who's using terms like "this is the way we've always done it," then you're stifling the creativity of your teammates. So I can't make impact with that kind of culture. But knowing that they can say, "Hey, do this. I'm behind you. I'll write the check if we need new technology, whatever it is." That's what drives me the most. Then I look at where's the growth in comp plan and everything like that. But culture's first for me.
Yeah, how do you judge that from the interviewee side? Like, how can you pull that in? Can you teach us any
Hey, you got any silver bullet questions?
like you walk in, you're like, "Ooh, I see
God make a rock he cannot push," or something.
I see a time card, or I see no art on the walls, or stuff like
this. Look like a padded room.
There's a palpable anxiety, but everybody's very quiet. What is there? Is there some examples?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier. That's why if it's an interview which is very robotic and systematic, like you said, here are the top 10 questions I'm going to ask you. I could have Googled and prepared for versus a conversation where it becomes more personable, and the interviewer is sharing some personal things like, "Oh yeah, I have kids too," and that it quickly shifts from the interview to a conversation. Like for my last several 10 plus years, it's never been a conversation where it was interviewed. What have you done? What are your metrics? What is this for an hour? That's probably 15 minutes of the conversation.
Uh-huh.
The rest has been just personal, get to know you. What's the culture? What's the team like? But what helps from an employer standpoint is making sure that person meets with multiple people. Hopefully you can get with people on the team that you'll also work alongside a conversation, or, still stuff like see the office. I know with COVID, we're half remote, if not, but meeting multiple people. And again, it's a genuine, if you're, again, not engaged in a personal conversation and it just seems very robotic, you're going to be like, "Oh my God, this is kind of stiff."
Yeah. What do you think
that's who you're going to marry.
Right. Exactly. What do you think about working interviews and like actually, where they're having you come in for a full day of work?
Oof.
And then
I got suckered into 2 weeks one time.
That
they paid me, but it was
sure,
but
still
I was like,
weird.
I'm not going to get it because I know that if that's structured that way, there's no way.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, those that's a great question. Those still work depending on the role.
Because I feel like they are necessary lots of times. I mean, especially if you have to have a skill.
I like the idea of it.
Yeah,
I was down for it, but I could do it while the art agency was still going and all that shit. It was like, well, I'm flexible. I can do both. Right.
Go ahead, Orlando. Sorry.
Yeah, no. It depends on the role. If it's a sales role or something like that, call center environment, so you have to see all the tools and things that they're going to be using, the conversation, the process flow. It's good to have someone come in and sit. I did it. My very first recruiter position, that same company that had me as a candidate and called me back in, I came in for at least 3 to 4 hours and then had a wrap-up interview. So yeah, I sat next to multiple recruiters and watched their process, and they wanted me to give a summary of what I seen and the quality of each individual I sat with.
Ooh,
Ooh,
I was
how'd that
like,
go?
whoa. Well, I got the job.
that's some like
Who did you replace?
That's like Stanford prison experiment.
Yeah,
stuff.
which guy
Like,
did you?
Yeah.
The worst rating gets fired.
Right, and then
And
what if
that's
you
now your job.
if you overdo it, you look like an ass, right? Like if you're like,
Probably be honest with it. I mean, if it's an
I know, but
honest
I'm saying, like-
evaluation and true, sure. Don't be too hard.
Yeah, it was. I got lucky. I definitely got lucky. But everyone has this innate ability. I can kind of pick up things quick and read people's skill set and things like that fairly quickly. So, but that was like, and it was with the VP and the senior manager. They were just like, okay, give me your assessment of what you've seen. I was like, holy cow! I was ready for the basic 10 questions.
Yeah.
wow,
Do you want to read from my notes here, or yeah?
Yeah.
No, I could see for a recruiter, yeah, crucial to actually see them speaking with people and trying to do the job a little bit. I mean, that's got to be one.
Well, we got 2 questions left. You got 5 daughters, so I thank you for taking the time.
I bet
yeah,
Orlando would like
this
to thank us a little bit, huh?
Yeah, you get paid a percentage of what we get from the episode, which I don't know.
Okay.
What's 10% of 0 coming in?
I'll Google it.
Okay, we're not math guys.
Just
two questions, and then you can get back to breaking up a fight about a hairbrush, an epic fight that I grew up around my whole life.
Right, and now you're involved in.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. What's it called? Any pragmatic advice for anybody hiring? Any tip? We try to throw out this is motivation's temporary, right? So we're trying to ask our guests that are experts in their field, can you give some pragmatic tip or advice for employers trying to hire or for people going for jobs now?
Yeah, absolutely. So for employers, I would say evolve. So that's evolve with technology, evolve in your culture, be competitive in the market with your salaries, and move quick. Be decisive decision makers, because there's a time where you could have had candidates wait 2-3 weeks. Now it can be 3 days. I had personally, the company I worked for had a candidate in the loop. They were about to interview today and emailed me at 4:00 saying, hey, I took another job offer and they were supposed to interview for a position with us. So it moves that quick, and that was just within a week.
And
so all those.
I'll throw the question to you. When you interview, how long, and everybody's been here, this is why I think it's funny, how long do you wait to send the thank you email? And then how long do you wait to send another one? Like when you haven't heard back about the job and you're doing a follow-up.
Oh, if you're the interviewee.
Yeah, I mean, interviewee. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
When you
if,
send that thank you email or whatever. And
Immediately, back to back.
then,
Boom, boom.
right.
On to the next one.
What's a good follow-up
Very efficient.
rhythm, I guess?
Yeah, so I would tell candidates, send a thank you email maybe within the first hour, because the stuff is still fresh in your head, because that's an opportunity for you to sell yourself a little bit more, some things you may have not said during the interview process, but you're thanking them for the opportunity. And if it's multiple people that you've interviewed with, make sure each message is unique if you've gotten their email address. But if it's not, you could put it all in one email and just say, hey, can you make sure you tell this person that, this person this person that, and here's why I think I'm a great candidate. And then within a follow-up, you can ask, what's a good time frame for me to follow up with you, and let that recruiter or hiring manager give you a specific time. And then if that deadline is coming past, follow up the next day.
Yeah, everybody forgets that part because you're so nervous the whole time. Yeah, having that cheat sheet of all right, when I'm done with this, I gotta make sure I ask when's a good time to follow up, because you'll just walk out the door and
Yeah, that can be calming. I bet, having a task to do at the end.
Oh, I have to write it out like a
something
set list, dude.
Right. Well, exactly. But
Yeah.
I mean, having that next thing to do it might not be bad for everybody.
I have to ask, right at the end, is it okay I can't go within 500 feet of schools? Is that
Right.
a problem for
what's
this
the
position?
address again?
Yeah. Last question. We'll let you go. What advice would you give your 13-year-old self?
Wow, great question. Let me see. You stumped me on that one. So I would probably say
I can vamp if you want a few seconds.
no. I got
Okay,
you.
you got it. All
Yeah.
right.
So yep, my 13-year-old self. I would probably say learn what I want to learn earlier to be more focused because I was most folks like us, young men, were about the ladies early, and I should have gotten early about focused on career. And at 13, who knows? But yeah, just been more focused on what's next in life versus what's right now in life.
Were you chasing skirts instead of getting A's in school? What was going on? That was
It's a combination of the two, but the
right.
skirts would leading the way.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, I didn't know how to act around women really, like when I was into it
I don't know if I can,
at 13.
I wasn't good.
I feel like
I didn't say I was
was
good.
your path. That was your path, man.
Yeah.
I didn't.
You know.
I didn't say I was good. I was just. That's why he was chasing.
All right.
I was
Like
like
between you and your 13-year-old self.
right.
Obviously.
I was awkward. Like Umbros at a middle school dance, and a slow song just came on. That's how awkward I was. Thanks for coming on. We'll have you back on maybe when Eric's not so wasted.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Cool.
But thanks for doing it, and it's good to talk to your frozen self.
Appreciate you, gentlemen, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
you, Law.
All right, see ya.
See ya.